This KFAN podcast is sponsored by Builders and Remodelers, exclusive Twin Cities provider of Elements Windows. Get the highest quality windows at unmatchable value. Visit buildersandremodelers.com for more details. Just in case you missed it, it's the top 5 sports talkers of the day. Now, it's time for Dan Barrero's Top 5 at 5. Brought to you by Gutter Helmet of Minnesota. Never clean your gutters again. Learn more at gutterhelmetmn.com.
Lots of show yet to come, including Lavelle. Some very good texts to bounce off of, probably between 5:15 and 5:30 when Lavelle will join the conversation and give us his latest underwear-related confession. But first,
it started in round 1 when the Milwaukee Bucks had a 97.9 win percentage, Dan. They were up 7 points in the final 35 seconds. Guess what? Indiana Pacers won. Then in the second round, Cleveland Cavaliers had a 95.9 win percentage, up 7 points in the final minute. Guess what? Pacers won. New York Knicks, 99.7% chance to win the game, up 14 in the final 3 minutes. That was game 1, I believe, of the Eastern Conference Finals. Pacers won. And last night,
Tibbs' fault.
He got fired for it.
Yeah.
The Thunder were up 9 in the final 3 minutes. We're up 15 in the fourth quarter. We all know what happened next.
Halliburton has it with 3, driving with 2, pulling up, and hitting with 0.3 of a second to go. How many more times can this team do that?
Sweet baby.
That's the Pacers Radio Network. 14 points for Tyrese Halliburton, 10 rebounds, 6 assists.
He hadn't really done that much offensively until that shot.
It was 6 Pacers in double figures. And by the way, Siakam was kind of getting the Randall treatment a little bit. There were times where it looked like Siakam, it was a little fast for him.
Yep.
But you know what he did? He hung in. He didn't bail out. He didn't get annoyed. And other players, Miles Turner banks in a 3. Nembhard had an unbelievable 3.
Yeah,
he's nice.
He's nice. He
made 4 threes.
Yeah.
And they win the game. That shot you just heard was their first lead with 0.3 seconds left. 111 to 110. Before we get your thoughts, do you want to go around the world and hear how it sounded?
Why not?
How did it sound in Oklahoma City?
The Pacers have it, 7 seconds. Halliburton across the timeline with 5, down 1. Halliburton dancing on Wallace, pulls up right wing, arcs it, and sticks it with 0.3 of a second to play. Pacers lead 111-110 with 0.3 of a second to play. Timeout Thunder.
That's the Thunder guy. I think his name's Matt Pinto. I think
that's right.
He's been there forever. He's been on the show a couple of times. Great guy, and what a pro. Because I'm always expecting... I'm always expecting the national treasure.
I think he was too calm.
Yeah, he was almost a little flatline.
I think you need a little more than no, quite frankly.
Well, to get the no, we need to go to Portugal.
O rebote é nos Pacers, eles vão ter a chance de vencer o jogo. Bola pra ele, pro homem clutch da temporada. Halliburton no jumper, lá. Diferente dos Pacers.
Don't even know what happened there.
He sounded happy about it, though.
Like there were 2, and they're like noises that I've never heard on a broadcast before. So that was ESPN Portugal. How about this guy's pipes on Spanish radio?
Oh,
This is a voice that I am envious of. I can't say that about a lot of people, but this guy I can.
La oportunidad para los Pacers. No le queda nada a este partido. Será Halliburton de nuevo. A ver, Tyrese Halliburton a distancia. Quemando las redes. Tyrese Halliburton.
Halliburton.
Cuarta ocasión en esta postemporada.
They had a Pete Burcich, too, that's just laughing his way.
We got that laugh, the Spanish laugh.
We do.
Soccer.
I do love, in any language, how Halliburton is just Halliburton.
That's it.
You know?
It doesn't. There's no translation. What's the last one?
Korea.
Oh.
자, 언더독인 인디애나가 익숙한 상황을 맞이한다. halliburton wow!
So wow in Korean is wow. It translates to wow, I guess.
Honestly,
I don't speak Korean.
It's there are 2 individuals there minimum, right?
Yes.
Maybe 3?
Yes.
I immediately think when I hear that of the Larry David episode where he's in a sushi bar And he gets in trouble. I can't remember exactly what he does, but he gets in trouble with the crew, and they are celebrating, basically dunking on him. And that's how they sounded in celebrating, not that different than Halliburton hitting the shot to win the game.
So that's what it sounded like. We'll keep an eye on that. And why wouldn't every game of the NBA Finals be something like that? That's just what Indiana does. The numbers that keep coming out about their comebacks and about their clutch numbers. Yeah. Let me give you this one if I can scroll. Tyrese Halliburton, I think, got third in the clutch award. Jace Frederick tweeted about this last night. We need a recount. He's 6 for 7. And now I know it's a regular season award, so let's just go. But he had a lot of them in the regular season. 6 for 7, which I'm not doing the math, but they did it for me. 85.7% when taking a shot to tie or take the lead in the final 90 seconds of the fourth or overtime this playoffs. It's the most such shots in a single postseason since 1997. I believe Shea on the other side is like 0 for 8 all season. Now, they're never behind, which is part of the
Anthony Edwards had a bad percentage.
He was like
during
2
the
for
regular
24,
season,
right?
Too. Yeah.
But it just keeps happening, and last night was the latest where they're even down 8 with less than 2 minutes to go, and they find a way to do it.
It was over. I said this about a month ago. I certainly didn't predict they could go this far, but I did say they're easily for me the most fun team to watch in basketball, and I don't even think it's close. And part of it is if you every once in a while in a possession, you're better off just. Don't worry about how it ends. Just pay attention and get a stopwatch out on how quickly the ball goes from point A to point B to point C, back to B to D, whatever the case may be. Because for all the lip services that is given about moving the ball, that's really what they do most of the time. There's almost no dribbling that takes place, except for Halliburton. And occasionally, he's allowed to do that, and we know why, because he can break people down one-on-one pretty effectively. As unorthodox as his shot, it's not a very pretty jump shot at all.
Not. It does not look good.
There's no shooting instructor who would teach it, right? But the way the ball moves, and part of the fun of it is the number of people they use. They're committed to that bit. They think, and they've done that over the course of the entire season. They sort of prepare themselves for that, and they've had an element of luck. There's no question. The shot that went straight up and straight down. We may not even be sitting here talking about them in the finals, but I don't think there is a more interesting pro basketball team that I've watched in many, many years than the Pacers. I love every minute of watching them play, and I'm not going to deny that for me there is a little bit of added satisfaction that it's taking place in the state of basketball, the real state of basketball, in front of people who really do appreciate that team, right? I mean, they have been with that team for a long time, and they won ABA titles routinely, but they've never won an NBA title, and they're utterly and completely committed to the bit, and so it's the perfect marriage, right, of a team that is about the sharing of the ball and about basketball, and They didn't win it last night, but they obviously opened the door in a way that the Wolves never could, right? The Wolves didn't win their first game until they were down 2-0. And then even in game 4, they lose that one. That was the only really of the losses, right? That was the only close loss.
Right.
And how do you get the attention of Oklahoma City and put them on the defensive and maybe even intimidate them or put an element of doubt into them finally? It's going out and finding a way on a day where you had 37 turnovers at the half,
right,
to actually steal the game at the buzzer.
Just 6 turnovers in the second half. It's hard to do, but it's not impossible to do.
Yeah.
But if you don't turn the ball over against Oklahoma City, you have a chance. They just feast on that soap. And maybe they did take him a half to kind of figure it out, because it always looks like, it's amazing to me that guys are surprised that when they try to drive, another guy's coming in to swipe the ball away. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Because they're all just pit bulls. They're all doing that. Even Caruso and Dort will just do a random double team out of nowhere. And usually Chet's behind you, so they can take those risks. But if they don't get 15 extra possessions because of turnovers, they don't win that much.
No.
But they do it. How many times have they done it? 80 times this season? So it's a big ask, but it is possible.
They have, as Rick Carlisle said, against Oklahoma City, the other thing you have to have is what he described as guys who can make, playmakers who just sort of, and it's kind of one-on-one, can make plays where you just go, how do you that's not, you didn't even diagram that, but you make the shot. Who's the other guard that we were talking about earlier?
It's Nebhart.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Now, he had an air ball late that got turned into an offensive rebound and a score, so it's not like he never misses a shot. But he just creates.
Yeah.
He's athletic enough to create, and that's not something the Wolves have anywhere near as much of. And they have a bench that they believe in. They got guys who give them juice off the bench. They keep coming. And the other thing they did, I think, they kind of turned the tables on them defensively, too. I heard Sam Mitchell talk about this a little bit last night, where they were guarding half court, basically all the way up as well, kind of trying to give Oklahoma City a bit of their own medicine. And it kind of frankly does make me feel like the Wolves have a way to go. Their offense is nowhere near as nimble or agile as what we're seeing of the Pacers offense. Not even close.
Game 2 Sunday night, and will the Wolves be doing it with a new head coach?
Why do you do this to people?
SNY NBA insider Ian Begley reports.
Ian Begley's big time.
That's why I'm bringing it up. Ime Udoka, Rockets.
Yeah.
Jason Kidd, Mavs.
We mentioned this yesterday.
And Chris Finch.
Right.
Are among the coaches currently under contract who the Knicks have degrees of interest in. This was his report at 1:18.
Sure, shot jockeying a
on
little bit.
Friday, June 6th.
Yeah.
Guilty? Yes.
But it's well done. It's well played. It's worth it.
He's reporting it.
Yeah,
They're interested.
Begley is a good reporter.
I just wanted to for the record.
I think of those, Houston's already said, don't even tread on us. Don't bother.
Right.
I don't know if anybody from the Wolves have even, I'm guessing they're saying we don't want to mess with it. We're not even going to dignify it. The interesting one is Jason Kidd, because can you make the argument that there's enough of a significant break in whatever Dallas thought it was going to be with Luka, that if Kidd goes to the front office and says, look, I've been a good soldier for you guys for a while. I wouldn't mind a change here. Can we work something out? I think that's conceivable, actually, of the three. To me, that's the one that makes, because there's that natural break that's taking place in the organization. Now, you could say, they got the number one overall pick.
Cooper Flag.
They're going to get Kyrie back eventually. They still got the big man, but the scary part for New York is when you make a move this jackassy,
yes,
then you better have something seismic, or you are going to lose even the people who are saying, yeah, get rid of Tibbs. It's Tibbs' fault. Let me ask you this question. If the Knicks had waited for, let's say, this series, the finals to end, in the eventuality that the Pacers win the series, do you think they might have been less likely to pull the trigger on Tibbs? Or to go, well, I mean, they won the whole thing. They went to the finals, and they also beat the heavily favored Thunder. Would have had any impact on the thinking within the organization and the ownership about getting rid of Tibbs?
I mean, that was the joke going last night, right? What happened to the Thunder got Tibbs fired, basically. A comeback win in game 1. Maybe. Seems like they're taking a lot of the player feedback from these meetings and going, well, I guess we should probably change it up. Doesn't seem like the guys like it.
The hit pieces have been plentiful. Yeah, I mean, it's
predictable.
Sad and predictable for sure.
Sometimes you get what you deserve.
That's true.
And the Knicks might. Game 2 Stanley Cup final, by the way, tonight. Edmonton with a 1-0 lead. You can hear that game right here on the Fan. And the Twins are back home, 6 games behind Detroit. First place in the American League Central. The Twins are in second. They're hosting the Toronto Blue Jays. A little 6-game homestand here now. Bailey Ober on the mound opposing Paxton Schultz.
And as I mentioned, we got Lavelle coming up at 5:30. We got a lot of good texts to follow up on between the now and then. And most importantly, either next segment or, and this is a promise, between 6 and 6:30, one of the two, the bumper-to-bumper seal of approval goes to a pooch, goes to a dog that I'm almost emotional just thinking about it. And once I read it, I'm going to probably start misting up.
Fan.
I want to revisit the part of the conversation we had with Gessling between 4:30 and 5, and I reviewed some of the commentary from General Manager Kwesi Adolfo-Mensah in a Star Tribune Q&A. Kwesi expressing some of the same concern you had, Gaardsy, regarding the possibility of your multi-million-dollar superstar, for example, Justin Jefferson, getting mauled in the Olympic flag football by some idiot from Estonia.
Right.
Trying to make a name for himself or herself, correct? And he brought up, Gessling, that, because I said, well, is it a PR thing for the league? Is it exposure, whatever? I mean, this league doesn't need a lot of exposure. And he brought up, what happened regarding, with the Dream Team and what happened to sort of the dawning of this age of international sports or basketball superstardom that, to a certain extent, maybe the door in part got opened.
The global impact.
By what the Dream Team did. The difference, though, is the game that the Dream Teamers were playing was the game of basketball, right? It wasn't like 3-on-3, or it was not bastardized form of basketball. And that's, I think, for a lot of us, still the confusing part regarding this push to play flag football, which has literally nothing to do with football. Nothing. I mean, there are no similarities between it. I guess you can say throwing the ball through the air from point A to point B. So, you could say, well, is there really a need? First of all, is there potential to, or a need to unlock the door to some sort of flag football explosion? Like the NFL worldwide is going to have access to some players from Estonia and Latvia who are going to be inspired by flag football being in the Olympics and say, that's what I want to be, a flag football player. And if I'm lucky, I'll go from that, if I'm good at it, to becoming a National Football League player. It doesn't work. It's a gimmicky, it's a fun game, is flag football.
Yes.
But for me, it's so much more gimmicky. So it's not the same as trying to open the door to, to the world of professional basketball. The idea that there are players everywhere who might be inspired by what they saw from the Dream Team. Oh, do we really think there are going to be folks inspired by watching Justin Jefferson in flag football?
It's a ludicrous link.
And it's a ludicrous link, and again, it's a dangerous link, potentially. Because it's not that difficult. How many injuries do we hear about all the time in pickleball, right? Where, it's obviously low impact.
Yep.
But we have people making quick moves that all the time are getting hurt. Now, they're not world-class athletes all the time like JJ is. But if you're going to play, the assumption is it's not going to be like the NBA All-Star game, right? The assumption is players who participate are going to be trying, I guess, to win the gold.
It's the Olympics.
And you're
trying to get a medal.
What are we doing out here running all of the risks, the requisite risks that might well be part of winning this gold medal for a game that is, again, I'm not saying it doesn't have a right to exist, but there's no connection that I can see to the National Football League at all. And, there are the dangers of it. And Kwesi, who's usually pretty careful about everything, I think did go further than one might expect regarding that particular story.
Not just pickleball, which, yes, is keeping my neighbor who's an ER doctor and my friend who's an orthopedic surgeon.
There you go.
It's helping their business dramatically.
Yeah, I bet you.
But how many times do we just hear about non-contact football injuries, basketball injuries, any kind of injury with professional athletes when they're just practicing their sport? We're about to hit summer workouts for college basketball programs. We've heard constantly about non-contact knee injuries or non-contact Achilles, like the whole bit. I can't for the life of me figure out. Just keep playing more games overseas.
Right.
If you want to grow the game, just keep doing that.
I think part of the disconnect, too, is when did we have the meeting to say we've got to bring flag football to the Olympics? Who was in that meeting? How did they exactly get to that conclusion? Bookseller guy mentioning that point. Why in the bleep is flag football in the Olympics? We'd do better having the Vikings defense entering the breakdance event. Although,
I don't think that's coming back, right?
Oh, is that right?
I thought that was a trial. I thought that got cut. I'm not sure.
I don't remember any of the deliberations that said this is, and it surprises me the degree to which the NFL has just fallen into lockstep on this, at least at the corporate level. Maybe there's a lot of GMs who are muttering the same way that Kwesi is on it, quite understandably. So, to be continued. Which Olympics is that going to be the first one?
LA, I think.
It is going to be LA?
They want to do it for the next one. And that's part of it, too. It's the American Olympics, right, back in Los Angeles, so they probably want to do that. I just always go back to what Louis says about the hockey break for the Olympics, and even the Four Nations that they just went through. And that is as good as it gets for the sport in terms of the competitiveness, the tension, the games, since the pros have started to play again. And Louis even says, he goes, if I was the general manager again, I'd hate it.
Yeah,
And we saw guys going to Four Nations come back and be hurt.
Right.
And that's the actual game that they're used to playing, that they've been playing since they were 3 years old, skating on a pond somewhere. And even that, they still do it, but people have reservations about it. I'll never understand this, ever.
Well, and again, God bless 507 guy. I don't know what world he thinks we're living in. He's saying no, especially the kids. They've never even heard of the game of American football. Are you out of your mind? What century do you think we're living in? In 2025, there are 18-year-old kids in Europe who've never heard of the game of American football? Come on, man. That's naive. And the notion that the door is going to be unlocked on the basis of a flag football version of the game? I don't know what you're smoking, man, but maybe I need to get some. Lavelle Neal III, he is coming up next here in the Fan. Before we get to Lavelle, an interesting text just came in a while ago. Dan, other 507 guy here, call me 507 Nate. The first 507 guy that says kids in Europe don't know what American football is definitely smoking the good stuff because he's out of his mind. Thanks for making sense. Please don't die. That would make me sad. Well, that's a jarring thought on a Friday.
Yeah, 5:32, and the weekend's basically here.
Man, oh man, oh man. Well, I'm gonna knock on. We don't have any wood in here, do we? How about? Can I knock on the brick behind me?
Yeah, that should count.
Well, that's not really brick, is it?
It's not.
Did I just give out a secret I shouldn't have? Damn it!
I swore that was brick.
Lavelle Neal III joins via the Connecticut Water Systems hotline. Brought to you by Allery's. Let me ask you something. Well, before I ask you something, Lavelle, I think Gaardsy is starting the segment with a gift from a source to be named later. Is that right, Gaardsy?
Yeah, or maybe a source to be never named. Lavelle, did you participate in Randy Shaver's outstanding golf tournament on Monday afternoon at Rush Creek?
Until it got rained out after the ninth hole, yeah.
Oh, you were in the afternoon group. You got to be up and at 'em like I am. Get in the morning. It's way better in the morning. I got this text from another celebrity golfer. I'm just going to read it. My highlight from yesterday at the Shaver Golf Tournament was when a guy from the team I was paired with saw Lavelle, asked him for a selfie. The guy was amped about it. Then a hole later, he was talking about how excited he was to get a picture with former Twins player Al Newman.
No, he didn't.
I'm just reading the text.
How good is that?
I'm just reading the text.
It never ends. It never ends, I tell you. And somewhere, Numi's ears are ringing right now. Probably somewhere in Lake Elko, wherever's he at.
When's the last time you talked to Al Newman?
It's been a couple of years ago. I know he was at the ballpark for some function. I saw him then. So, as far as I know, I think he was still managing the St. Cloud Rocks in the Northwoods League. I need to check and double check that to see if that's still true or not. So,
well, you made that guy's day. He was jacked up, according to my source, for multiple holes. So you gave Al Newman a good name.
Over the years, have you been mistaken more for Al Newman or Romeo Crennel?
Oh, Al Newman for sure.
Not even close.
Sure.
Local angle.
It's not even close. And Numi has admitted that people had thought that he was me.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
So, but he's been from saying, Lavelle, I love your stuff at the Star Tribune. No, I played for the Minnesota Twins, sir. So it's probably worse for him than it is for me.
We do it like 3 times a year, or probably not even that much. It's kind of the equivalent to somebody asking Louis how he feels about how he was portrayed in the movie Miracle.
Yeah, worth it to get back to like, twice or 3 times a year.
Yeah, we don't need to go, but just when I got that text from somebody, it just cracked me up, so I had to read it. It makes my day.
A lot of good texts already coming in. What were you going to say, Lavelle?
No, well, I'm actually being mistaken for Larry Fitzgerald more than I have Romeo Cornell. So
is that true?
Senior, not senior.
Junior or senior?
Junior would be a hell of a story.
Yeah, I'd take that.
That'd be one remarkable story, would it not? This
Absolutely
is from Clayton out of Rochester that might get your attention. Dan, Royce Lewis will definitely get some pitches to hit tonight. He has Clemens batting behind him in the lineup. How good is that? Can you deny it?
Cody Clemens being protection for other hitters.
Think about it. The guy that you've utterly dismissed. They're now using him basically to open the door for other. Royce was supposed to be our building block once upon a time,
and now he may get sit down if he keeps this slump going on.
Yeah, it's not good, is it?
I mean, he's a bad week away from for the Twins to really start thinking about it just to get him straight, because they need all the offense they can get, and. He's not providing it. Now, you've been waiting for him to come in. I mean, a year ago, Rocco was touting him as his best option at cleanup hitter.
Yeah.
Before that, he was Mr. Grand Slam. Now he's none of that. And, they may have to make a tough decision with him if he continues to have trouble putting together good at-bats and getting on base.
Is he too muscle-bound? Is that part of one of his problems?
I don't know if he's a rhythm guy that needs to feel good all the time and get in the right rhythm where the swing is working and everything, or if he's not seeing the ball right now, or what, or is it bad luck? You have to factor that in too. The hard hit balls that are caught.
Yeah, right.
It doesn't help because a lot of times when things are going good, the bloopers and the bleeders through the infield and the CNI singles are getting through, but. It is what it is. I think he's batting 0-32 over his last 11 games or something like that. How long can this last? They sent Matt Wallner down a year ago, I think, after 25 at bats. So they may have a decision here.
Who is the Twins hitter from back in the day who got utterly consumed with weightlifting and admiring? Yeah, it was Cordova, right?
Yes, Marty Cordova.
Got completely out of control, didn't it?
A little bit. He also had this incredible boxing workout that he did. Because I remember Jim Souhan went out to Vegas to work out with him and did the same workout and had to revisit his breakfast during the whole process. Marty liked his muscles, no doubt. Did that stop him from becoming a 15-year player? Possibly.
Yeah.
He definitely didn't help him be a better outfielder, I'll tell you that.
By the way, 651 guy has a question for you. Can you ask Lavelle, with all of the tariffs nowadays, are you still willing to leave your underwear in foreign countries?
Well, wait a minute. That was just an Olympics thing. So the next time this could possibly come up is next year at the Winter Olympics in Italy. So hopefully tariff wars will have settled down by then, so I don't have to worry about that possibility because of the number of underwear you need over the course of a month. That could definitely add up if there's a tariff issue that's being passed along to wherever I'm getting my next order from.
No, we're all waiting with bated breath for that. All right, let's get to the other big Twins. Well, the big Twins issue right now. The sobering news on Pablo. Somebody texted me yesterday, and I'm glad you're a ball guy because, that's what I'm looking for at a time like this. And he said despite Pablo, even with Pablo out of the rotation, the Twins still have a top 5 in Major League Baseball pitching rotation. If that's true, isn't that a rather scathing indictment on Major League pitching? It's difficult for me to believe, even with our depth, we could still be top 5 without Pablo. What do you think?
I think Joe Ryan and Bailey Ober are in the top 30, maybe 25 of starters in baseball. So that's a good place to start. Chris Paddock has been pitching like a top 30 guy. I think it's a little bit of a stretch to say that the Twins still have a top 5 rotation without Pablo, because the two guys behind them, Zebby Matthews and David Festa, still have to prove themselves as major leaguers.
Yeah.
You kind of don't know what a starter is going to be until he gets like 50 starts under his belt. They definitely aren't at that level. Zebby had a shaky outing when he got called up and made his season debut against Milwaukee. He has settled down then. Hopefully Festa follows along in that same track, because he struggled minorly yesterday against the Oakland A's. And hopefully he'll settle down, because some people think he projects to be a better pitcher than Zebby over the long haul, although I would pick Zebby, because I just think a guy that could throw like 5 or 6 different pitches and not walk a lot of guys really can be a heck of a starter. But to say top 5, that's hard for me to get behind. Of course, I'm starting to think about other rotations. The way the Tigers are going right now, it's hard to say that. I think the Braves have a great rotation. The Dodgers have a lot of injuries to their rotation, so I don't know what the status of that is.
Yeah.
I can't see top 5 because I don't think they're the best rotation in the division, because I was just looking at Detroit's numbers today, with Casey Mize and Jackson Jobe and Tariq Skubal leading that group. That's a pretty impressive force fives them to beat. So I would say no, I can't get by in top 5. Top 10, maybe.
Saul from Blaine would love to see the Twins go after Sandy, is it pronounced Alcantara? He's having he's having a rough year, but is coming off Tommy John, and when he is going good, has ace upside. In fact, I saw his name come up as there's a rumor he could be headed to the Cubs. So, look, do we have any reason to believe that this ownership is, going to give permission to be at all adventuresome and aggressive in trying to fill in the gap during the next 2 to 3 months when Pablo was out?
I have 2 answers to that. First of all, I love Sandy Alcantara. He has been a horse in his career. He's been the guy who's pitched 200 innings a couple times in his career. He broke down and needed surgery. Missed all of last year. He's having trouble coming back from Tommy John, no doubt. I do like the premise of buying low on him and see if he could turn him into what he was before. I don't know what type of assets that would take. I don't know what his current contract situation is, to be honest with you. So I don't know how much they'd be taking on. I think, and I wrote about this for Sunday, that the Twins should be looking for a bat more than for an arm.
Yeah.
If they're looking for a pitcher, they may want to see if there's a reliever out there that can lengthen their bullpen, because Zebby Matthews is tied for first in the majors in appearances. Griffin Jackson, I believe, is tied for eighth. And Duran is also tied for 8th. So I'm worried about those guys getting worn down in August in the meat grinder that is the playoff chase. They maybe, unless they think Brock Stewart could be that guy, maybe look for relief help. But I think the number one priority is finding a bat. They could put someone in at DH. If they end up dropping Joyce Lewis, there could be bats at third. They could maybe platoon with Ty France between first base and DH. There's a spot for a bat in that lineup. I think the Twins need a bat to kind of add some continuity to that offense, more so than taking a flyer on someone like Alcantara. So it's a great idea. And the second half of your statement, too, is that, no, we don't know what the Paulette family is going to authorize before the trade deadline. I made my plea on Sunday's paper to remind them that they've just started getting some momentum going after everybody being mad at them after the 2023 playoffs, and pretty much standing pat until late in free agency in this past cycle before adding Ty France and Harrison Bader, which looks like they've worked out. Bader leads the Twins in WAR. He's a 2.0 WAR player, and France has been serviceable at first. But the team's in contention. You got to take advantage of these situations. You have assets. no doubt. Your farm system is ranked at least 15th, if not a little bit higher in baseball. They got chips to play here. Make a push here. Build on what you guys have developed this year, everybody's going to just have the same mean, angry, disheartened feelings that they had after 2023 when you said you were going to have to right-size the payroll, and then after 2024 when you said you were going to have to stand pat before changing at the end. So that's my latest plea. It's in Sunday's paper. I just think they got to take advantage of this because, A, the AL Central is a very competitive division. They're going to need probably some more firepower to hold off Kansas City and Cleveland while trying to catch Detroit, although I think Detroit may be uncatchable. But they're on pace to win 88 games, and that's a fine season based on where they're coming from a year ago. And maybe if they could do something to tweak the offense, they can make themselves a 90-91 win team.
Yeah, I got I think there's a better chance that you're going to start wearing women's underwear rather than their usual boxer briefs than the Twins being as ambitious as you suggest. That's just one man's opinion. I hope you're right, but I'm not going to hold my breath. I do have.
Thinking that gal has weighed in on my text here. She's talking about no way Twins were in top 5 because Yankees are definitely in top 5. I'm like, okay, wow. Yankees talk from Thinking Ain't Gal. What a shocker there.
I've got an ownership update question for you. Did you see the news out of Chicago about the Ishbia deal with Reinsdorf and the White Sox?
Yep.
So, as I understand it, we talked about it yesterday. From now until 2029, at any point, Reinsdorf could say, okay, we're going to make the deal for, you becoming the majority owner. And then if he decides not to, then by 2033, so that's like 8 years from now, Ishbia can say, I'm ready. Now it's not your choice, it's mine. I want to take control of the club. Let's get the deal done. And if you're a Twins fan, I think this would be all depressing because originally we thought he was interested in the Twins. And I'm thinking, given the slow-cooked nature of this deal with Chicago, why wouldn't he, the assumption is the Ishbias want stuff now, right? They're in a hurry. They like owning toys. They like things, and they got the money to do it. He can have the Twins, in a month if he wants them. So why does he prefer waiting perhaps as long as a decade to take over the White Sox compared to a team that's readily available for him now?
Well, they've made their fortune in Chicago. Yeah. They have a headquarters in Chicago. Yeah. Their Big Ten guys haven't been to Michigan State.
We're in the Big Ten.
No, that's true. I forgot about that. I forgot Minnesota's in the Big Ten. No, I'm kidding. Wow. I'm kidding.
But
I'm saying
Gaardsy ain't gonna like that.
I just saying that they're based in Chicago. It's a hub of activity there. The White Sox are worth more than the Twins. That probably is an enticement. The White Sox probably have better revenue streams when they're playing well than the Twins. The TV deal is a little more stable than the Twins. Now, the White Sox, Jerry Reinsdorf's been asking for a new stadium. I don't know how that affects his request for a ballpark. But he already owned a few shares of the White Sox already. Reinsdorf has told his family if something happens, I think this is a health issue with Jerry. He's trying to figure out how long he's going to last and be able to own franchises and enjoy owning them. He told his family if anything happens to him suddenly to sell the White Sox and keep the Bulls. So here's my conspiracy theory. I wonder if Ishbia showed interest in the Twins, hoping that it would get Jerry's attention because. There were people in Chicago who immediately said, well, why are you buying the Twins when you can just have the White Sox?
Maybe you're right, yeah.
And the next thing you know, he's bought more shares, and now he has an option to become majority owner. So, if I was a Twins fan, I'd feel a little depressed, too, over the whole situation. But the Ishbia family, the deep pockets, man. His brother owns the Phoenix Suns. His father would be involved in the White Sox. If he buys them. So apparently they're willing to wait. And once again, Chicago's our home base, man. So I'm sure there's some desire to be able to own a professional team in the city that they know so well.
319 guy with a good story I'm going to read. He writes, it was the fall of 1987, And my friend's mother took me, my buddy, and his little brother to the airport to greet the Twins after they had returned home from clinching the AL West pennant. Players were all walking through the airport as we accosted them, harassing them for autographs. Every single one of them obliged and were incredibly patient with us kids. We had just entered the 8th grade. My buddy's brother was a 4th grader. I'll always remember my buddy's little brother running up to Al Newman with a baseball card with excitement to get an autograph. Newman took the card from him and looked at it and said, "This ain't me, man. I wish it was, but it ain't me." He nevertheless signed the card, handed it back to Joey. We looked at it and laughed hysterically as we explained to him that it was Al Newman who had autographed his Kirby Puckett rookie card. From that moment on, Al Newman became all 3 of our favorite baseball players. Lots of love to all, or to Al, I should say. Thanks for reading. That's a good one. That's a good. I thought he was going to say he wrote your name. Even better.
I just remembered the last time I saw Al, he attended the 2024 Diamond Awards at the Armory, where you've been before in recent years, and it was there where he told me that there were people walking up to him telling him, "Hey, Lavelle, love you working at Star Tribune." That was the last time we saw each other. We were both at a banquet together.
There it is.
And I got up on the stage and I said, "Al, I heard Al's here." And he's telling me that he's sending me text that people think I'm him. And I said, "You better not be using my name to get any free drinks." So that's the last time I've seen Al.
He hasn't left the house since he was mistaken for you, is what I heard.
That's very possible, actually. That wouldn't be all that surprising. All right, let's finish up with where do I want to go? Well, should Wolves fans look? The Pacers did not win the NBA title last night, but they did open some eyes, right? They stole a game. You could argue they had no business winning. Their only lead came with 0.3 of a second in the game. They turned the ball over upwards of 20 times first half and lived to tell about it. So if you're a Wolves fan, should you be daunted by the fact that another team proved that Oklahoma City isn't as unbeatable as they occasionally were made to look by our favorite basketball team, the Timberwolves? What do you think?
Well, I think this is going to go at least 6 games, but not 7. I think Rick Carlisle may be one of the top 5 coaches in the league. I think he outsmarted Tibbs a little bit in the Eastern Conference Finals. These things come down to matchups. One team could be a great matchup for another team, but be a terrible matchup for the next opponent. And maybe the Pacers presented something different to the Thunder than the Wolves did in the Western Conference Finals. So I know it's gonna be hard to watch, thinking about all the different ways that the Wolves could have basically won the series, but let's face it, in 2 or 3 of those losses, they were outclassed. They were clearly outclassed, and they have to go back and figure out what a winning formula is and see if they can return to another Western Conference Finals and this time get over the hump, maybe with a different look, maybe with more shooting, maybe with Kevin Durant. I don't know. Maybe with Darius Garland. I don't know.
Yeah, that's another name.
But it comes down to matchups, man. And it'll be easier to kind of dissect how this goes once the series is over. We can look back on some of these games. But we already had a thrilling – I tell you what, it's been great watching these finals because Game 1 of the Stanley Cup Finals was ridiculous.
You're right.
With the Oilers coming back and winning. And now Game 1 of the NBA Finals has been thrilling. So we got good appointment viewing here over the next few weeks.
You're not taking the Strip buyout, are you?
No, I'm not. I will say this. In past years, I think this is probably about the 3rd time, maybe the 4th time since I've been at the paper that buyouts have been floated. Mm-hmm. And I've just deleted the email when it's come across.
Whoa.
This year I opened it up. Because I need a baseline for when maybe 10 years from now, when I'm really considering stepping away.
Yeah.
I could compare it to what they're offering me at that time. So, no, and I told them as long as they like me, I'm staying, and apparently they like me, so
good.
I'm staying. I feel good. I could shed some pounds, but I think I've got several more years of writing ahead of me. So, And I like this paper.
Yeah.
I like the fight that we're waging in order to embrace more digital viewers. I don't like the rate at which we're kind of forsaking the daily handheld newspaper.
Yeah.
Because we got earlier deadlines coming up starting here next week. And I don't think we're going to get a Friday night, late night sports score in the paper the next day, which troubles me.
That is
troubling. But we're doing a lot of good things, and I want to be part of that effort here.
Good. Well, yeah, because that news came out, was it in the last week or two? I'm seriously worried we're going to lose a couple people. Yeah. I think there's a couple people in the department who are going to take it. Royce ain't going to leave, is he?
Well, Royce is part-time now, so he doesn't qualify.
He doesn't really qualify. Yeah, that's true. He's past that point. Right. Royce's never going to stop writing anyway. It doesn't make any difference.
No, he's not. He can't help himself.
And he should stop. There's no reason he should stop. None whatsoever.
And, he provides something to none of us. He has got connections with all corners of the state and characters throughout the state. And I'm like, where did Royce find this story about this person?
Correct.
He's a great storyteller, and that's his gift to the Star Tribune Sports Department.
He's got too many links to history to he should not be. If I were running the paper, I would prohibit him from, like, if he ever walked in the door and said, "I'm not writing anymore," I'd say that's not allowed. I'd say that we're going to hold you hostage if you think you're going to stop writing. I just say this is not. We're not having this conversation.
There's been twice in the last 6 or 7 years. Like, that's it. I'm going to finish out this year, and I'm just going to retire.
Correct.
And then he gets to the last year. I signed for 2 more years.
I think.
And I'll be in the office chanting 2 more years, 2 more years.
Yeah, why not? It's the beauty of it. That's it.
So, I call him Uncle Pat. I can't see him not writing for us ever.
Thank you as always. Have a great weekend. We'll chat next week.
All right, my man. Take care.
Appreciate you. That is Lavelle Neal III. I promised it's a downright emotional story that will receive, without any question, the bumper-to-bumper seal of approval. And as is often the case, it involves a 4-legged creature, not a 2-legged man. It was around 6 a.m. when 2 men in a boat spotted what they thought was a seal struggling through the rough waters of a natural harbor in southern England. As their vessel drew closer, though, they realized it was a dog fighting against the current. "I was absolutely gobsmacked," said Gary Bennett, the captain of the 60-foot ferry, which transports oil workers to a nearby island. "You don't see a dog swimming in the main shipping channels ever." Bennett was on the boat that day, May 31st, with Ethan Grant, a trainee skipper. The pup swam toward the boat, and the men dropped the ladder into the water. The dog gripped the ladder with her paws, and Grant jumped into the harbor to haul her aboard. "She fell in and landed on me," Bennett said. "She literally curled up in a ball on my lap and was so scared." They covered the dog in blankets, gave her food and water, and posted photos of her on social media, hoping to find her owner. Within a few hours, one person recognized the dog as Amber, a 5-year-old retriever who had been missing for more than a month after bolting from her foster home in New Forest, about 30 miles from Poole Harbor, where the men found her trying to stay afloat. In the 36 days she was missing, Amber had covered 100 miles, said Sam Collins, who runs KS Angels Rescue, a UK-based dog rescue organization, along with his wife, Kelly Parker. They had recently rescued Amber and had spent more than a month searching desperately for her. Amber lived on the streets of Qatar for the first 2 months of her life. A local kennel took her and a few of her siblings in, and she spent the next 5 years in a Qatari shelter. She was found with 5 of her siblings, and they were all in a very bad way, to the point where 2 of her siblings actually didn't make it, Collins said. So Collins and Parker coordinate rescues with the shelter that took in Amber, and they agreed to bring her to the UK and find a home for her. Amber arrived on April 24. "We like to take dogs in, that are forgotten about," Collins said. "We found her a brilliant foster home until we could get her adopted. But the morning after Amber's first night in the foster home, she was out in their garden and somehow cleared an 8-foot fence. They could see her in the field behind their house, so they went over there to see if they could catch her. And as soon as she saw them, she just ran. And that became the recurring theme. Every time somebody sighted her, she just bolted, Collins said. He and his wife immediately started a search effort, joining forces with another UK group that specializes in trapping escaped dogs. They put up posters, spread the word on social media. In total, there were about 65 sightings of Amber, though no one was able to catch her. Volunteers also set up food stations and cameras to try to track her down. I think she probably hadn't formed close bonds to any human in her life, so all the people she was seeing, she really didn't know whether they were a threat or not, Collins said. The dog traveled far enough to eventually reach the coast. She covered 70 miles over the first 30 days she was missing, Collins said. She ended up in Poole, a coastal town in Dorset, where she then jumped in the water and swam about a mile across Poole Harbor to Brownsea Island. People on Brownsea Island were trying to find her and catch her, and they never got close, said Collins, adding the one resident put out food every night for Amber. Collins believes Amber got spooked by people trying to catch her, so she jumped back into the water to leave the island. And that's when Bennett and Grant found her. She was skittish, but seemed relatively calm. Very nervous dog, Bennett said, but she took to me very well. She was pretty exhausted. It was quite a long swim for a dog. When Collins received a WhatsApp message from Bennett letting him know that Amber had been found, his jaw dropped. I couldn't believe it was her. I didn't expect her to be caught by a boat so far away. We were worried that we might not ever see her again alive. So Parker drove to Poole Harbor with the foster volunteer to pick up Amber. It was so heartwarming to know that this dog had been reunited, Bennett said. Collins and Parker took Amber to the vet, and they said she was in remarkably good condition other than being, not surprisingly, a little underweight, Collins said. Amber will continue to recover at the foster home and will hopefully be adopted within a few weeks. We've had some interest in applications, Collins said. While Amber is wary of humans, once she gets to know someone, she warms up fast. Doesn't take her long to be comfortable enough to enjoy a cuddle, Collins said. I was giving her a cuddle the other day, and she kept lifting her leg up for belly rubs. Given everything Amber endured, Collins said she's a savvy dog with a strong survival interest. To survive that long and be in as good a condition as she was, she must be really smart. Although Amber's adventure was stressful, Collins said, he is stunned by the outpouring of community support. There must have been thousands of people sharing all the posts. We couldn't believe how many, Collins said. Everyone seems to come together when there's a dog missing.
It's the bumper to bumper seal of approval.
Does that match Ham, the Christmas Miracle Bulldog?
It's pretty close. That's who I was thinking of.
Yeah, that's the first thought I had was of Ham.
Yeah,
a story that goes back 10 years, 15 years.
It's probably more than 15.
It might be more than 15.
Yeah, it was early in our run together.
By the way, it's a handsome dog. You seen the photo? Well,
yes.
You saw it. You sent it to me.
Yep, I sure did.
Tremendous. I mean, maybe dogs can bring us together. We don't like humans anymore, or we don't like. Well, if we're a shark, we don't like a jet human. If we're a jet, we don't like a shark human.
Right.
But could dogs bring us we know cats can't bring us together because they don't care. They're just not interested.
They're not interested. They're just trying to live their own lives.
Yes, they are. A dog, perhaps?
Well, it's not going to be AI because the AIs are getting so smart now that they're eventually going to take over.
Yeah, that's true.
You've seen those stories.
Right. Yeah.
There's some AI code, some artificial intelligence things where even when they're programmed to not work, they somehow figure out a way to delete that code and work. So it might have to be the dogs.
Yeah, it might have to be the dogs.
It's a heavy burden for the dogs.
The first photo, I was reading from a terrific piece in the Washington Post. The writer's name is Sidney Page, reading verbatim from the story. The lead photo, I got to tell you, the one actually there's two at the top of the story online via WashingtonPost.com. Of Amber. I mean, you can't make it up. I mean, they've got her covered in a blanket. her eyes look as forlorn and sad as you could possibly imagine. Like, yeah, I've been in the meat grinder for over 100 miles, but a mug to die for. Just a beautiful looking animal, is it not? It's gorgeous.
It was some good pictures.
Yeah.
And it's still amazing how all the stops along the way.
Yes.
Nobody can find these animals until their final destination, and then somebody puts the pieces together.
It's almost, I mean, if you're a writer who has some confidence in his or her ability to tell a story, it's almost cheating, I think, writing about a dog. Because I don't think you can blow it when it's a dog story, like a dog rescue story. You know what I mean? I think it's almost impossible to fail because all the elements are there, and everybody's rooting.
Yes.
Like we said, 50% of the time, we're not rooting for the human to survive, sadly. But in this case, it's, I think, pretty much 100%. Everybody is rooting for Amber. How is this? This story's got to end good, right? I can't handle a bad story. Will this end up being a movie? I don't know. There's enough, but what you do is you add a couple of elements.
We've had Homeward Bound and Homeward Bound 2.
Yeah, you can always add 2 or 3.
Homeward Bound, it was a couple of dogs and I think a cat. I think the cat's name was Sassy that needed to make it back.
Yeah.
So they've done parts of this. But yeah, when the headline says dog traveled 99 miles, that's the nice thing. They typically tell you in the headline.
They usually do.
But then you're going to click on it because you want to know, how did this happen?
The specifics.
How did this work? And they retrace the steps of the dog. It's pretty remarkable.
It is absolutely brilliant. Very good bumper-to-bumper seal of approval nominee as well. Let's come back and wrap up a very controversial program and try to send you into your weekend on a good note. Stay tuned for that.
Show wrap presented by American Pressure, commercial grade pressure washer since 1975.
It's the Bumper to Bumper Show Wrap.
One other breaking A-section story that we've not covered earlier. Did you see the update, Gaardsy, on the announcement that Kilmar Obrego Garcia, the mistakenly deported individual, is on his way back?
We're getting him back, right?
To the United States of America, but we're also seeking an indictment against him for a series of charges. Here's the interesting update. Ben Schrader, the former chief of the criminal division for the U.S. Attorney's Office in Nashville, resigned following the office's decision to seek said indictment against Kilmar Obrego Garcia. So the plot there continues to thicken. Remember when we were told there's no way he could get back here? We can't get him back. There's nothing we could do about it.
Sorry.
Well, if we've learned anything about this regime, it's, everything changes from day to day.
Anything's possible.
Once upon a time, Elon Musk is heroic. The next moment, he's losing his mind, right? So it goes to show you that day to day, they're making it up as they go along.
When you've probably bought more cars than I have in your life, I'm curious about what's the depreciation. Like, Trump should get pretty close to full price for the Tesla, right?
You would hope.
If he bought it 6 weeks ago.
Yeah, you're right.
Or whenever that was.
Yeah.
And now he wants to sell it. He can't possibly have driven it very many miles, if any at all. He should get Blue Book at least.
I
should
would
he
think
not?
so.
Yeah. I don't know how it works.
Do the people who were renouncing their Teslas, once they found out that Musk was associating himself with Trump, are they renouncing the renouncement? Are they now back to, now I feel all right about my
That's
my
an easy
Tesla?
one, because you take the bumper sticker off that says,
Yes,
I bought the Tesla before Elon went nuts, or whatever they say, right?
That's true. You can take
should
that
be
back
able to
off.
just take that right off.
Yeah, you're right. You just got to worry about which side of the aisle is going to try to key your car now, right?
And
That's
what
the
city
next
that
step.
happens in.
And what's
if you want to hold the perpetrator accountable.
I want to thank an outstanding array of guests today. That included an in-studio visit with our old pal Lindsay Whalen, who, of course, now
she's back, baby.
Is completely committed to the bit as an assistant coach on the Cheryl Reeve staff. Good conversation about her return, what fueled her desire to get back in it, what she missed, a little bit about the Lynx as a team, a little bit about working with Cheryl Reeve in this particular role. That was between basically 3:15 and 4 o'clock. Ben Gessling with good stuff on the Vikings, on the Star Tribune interview with Kwesi, and a number of other things as well between 4:30 and 5. And Lavelle between 5:30 and 6. Mainly baseball conversation with him, although underwear was covered again.
Per usual.
As was people mistaking him for Al Newman. That's always an oldie but a
Including
goodie.
at the Shaver Golf Tournament.
Yeah,
that's as good as it gets.
That's because that's recent.
Yeah, it was
that's
Monday.
early this week.
It was Monday.
Yeah.
And the guy was so pumped, apparently, to get his picture with Al Newman.
That's as good as it gets.
I'm so glad.
Did you see him there?
Lavelle?
No.
Newman?
Yeah.
No.
Oh, okay.
I didn't.
And you didn't see Lavelle? No, Lavelle went in the
Lavelle's
afternoon.
in the afternoon.
You said,
I was in the morning.
That's right. You were in the morning.
Yeah.
Morning crew. You saw a lot of people there, though. Did you set up any more, any good booking? Did you make any good bookings on the basis of who you ran into?
Talked to Tim Cheetah for a little bit.
Yeah, we're overdue
He was
on
out there.
Cheetah.
Yeah.
This is a promise. We're not going to wait to the state fair to have Tim Cheetah back on
We
the show.
got to do Cheetah. I think we got to have Royce
By the way,
back
did
in
you see?
studio.
In fact, there's timely stuff. The commissioner saying we're going to propose that we're going with robot umpires at home, but for balls and strikes, starting with the 2026 season.
Yeah, he's not going to like that. He'll have some opinions.
That may be the only question I need to ask him.
I couldn't say hi to Tim Cheetah the first time because he was taking a picture with Joe Mauer, Paul Molitor,
that's
Marnie Gellner. I think Dick Bremer was in there.
Man.
Like, the Shaver deal is ridiculous.
Yeah,
it's so fun.
He has.
It's such a good tournament.
And we're talking about, look, all causes are good. Whatever money you can raise is outstanding. He's so far, but he's always in the millions.
Yeah.
His event is so well put together.
It's fun.
Kudos to Shaver, man. He's done such great work there. Like you say, I don't know what he's figured out, but he's figured it out in I think, a bigger way than anybody else who has those sorts of tournaments, hasn't he?
Yeah.
He's done a great job. Outstanding job. All right, so tonight we've got Game 2, Stanley Cup. Speaking of, sports remains undefeated. Same in Game 1 in the Stanley Cup. An improbable finish, an entertaining game. And, I think a lot of people did think that Edmonton could win going into the series more than people thought the Pacers could win. So that was a little less stunning. But based on the way the game was going, it still ended up being really good theater. And tonight, Edmonton will try to go up 2-0. Enough said tonight. Check your local listings on
after
the Plus.
the Aurora and after the Saints.
That's basically it. On both the Plus and on Fox 9. Pretty sure part-time guy Brett Blakemore is with me on Sunday. I have not yet booked any guests, but I might actually try this week. We'll see how it goes, but we'll be back with sermons on Sunday morning at 9 o'clock. There's always enough to talk about for us, so we hope you'll join us then, and then prepare for another big week next week in which we continue to try to go a little bit more off the beaten track, shall we say, now that the Wolves playoff run, of course, is now feeling almost like a distant memory. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. And as I said, I will talk to you beginning at 9 a.m. for sermons. We'll talk then.
Thank you for your kindness. Thank you for your vision, for your spirituality, for healing me. Mostly, though, Dan, thank you for my life.